So we're about halfway through 2025 now, and used car prices have finally stopped behaving like Bitcoin in 2021. If you're still driving that '07 Civic with 3 warning lights, a duct-taped side mirror, and a bumper that's hanging on by nothing but pure emotional attachment, then this video is for you. Now, when it comes to used cars, there are 3 main things you're going to want to consider: reliability, cost, and of course, fun. Because just because you're buying used, that doesn't mean you have to settle for something boring like a silver Nissan Versa. And listen, I've been a used car salesman and I've been a mechanic, so I know what I'm talking about here. So today, I'm going to be ranking the best used cars you can buy in 2025 tier list style. We've got everything from S-tier daily driver gods to F-tier financial landmines that will haunt your wallet. And you already know the criteria: reliability, cost, and fun. So let's get right into it. Oh, and just real quick, I'm obviously not going to be talking about every single used car model in existence, but I will try to cover all the most common cars you'll find if you go browsing used car listings. But if there's any car that I don't mention and you really want to know how it stacks up, then go ahead and leave me a comment and I'll let you know what I think. Okay, so let's start this off with one of the most popular used cars, and one that you've probably already guessed would be on this list. Of course, I'm talking about none other than the Honda Civic. Specifically, let's talk about a 2016 to a 2021 used Honda Civic, which is the 10th generation of Civics. The Honda Civic is an extremely popular car, and these 10th gen Civics may have been the most popular of all throughout the Civic's entire history. And there's a good reason for that. They are great cars. As far as reliability is concerned, Civics have been known to hit 200,000 plus miles like it's a casual jog. And I know these 10th gen Civics do tend to have some air conditioning issues, but that's really not that big a deal in my opinion, especially considering the maintenance costs on these things is pretty cheap. A used 10th gen Civic is probably going to run you anywhere from $12,000 to $20,000, and I know that might seem kind of pricey on the higher end, but when you consider the relatively low cost of ownership, the great gas mileage, and the incredible resale value, I mean, these used Civics hold their value like my grandma holds on to Tupperware lids from 30 years ago. And yeah, I mean, in the long run, you're paying a higher price up front, but you might actually save money over time compared to some of your other options. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the 10th gen Civic's overall look. I mean, they're kinda sleek, kinda sporty, but there's something about the body style, to me, that just screams 2016. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but it seems a bit dated. And the interior is, I mean, it's there. It gets the job done. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. And this is just a personal recommendation. I know some of y'all are going to disagree, but personally, I recommend going for the 2-liter engine over the 1.5-liter turbo version because I've driven both and I just think that 2-liter has that classic Honda feel. And also, on top of that, the turbo is just a little bit less reliable, although, I mean, yeah, it's a Civic, so you really can't go wrong getting either way, but that's just my personal preference. So I'm going to put the 2016 to 2021 10th gen Honda Civic in the A tier because these really are great vehicles, but they just aren't quite the best used car you can buy in 2025. But they're close. Alright, moving on. The 2017 to 2020 Ford Fusion Hybrid. Listen, if you don't care about style and you don't care about standing out, if you are a true dyed-in-the-wool point A to point B type of person, then the Ford Fusion Hybrid is an excellent choice for you. And I mean, seriously, I mean that. There's nothing sexy about this car. Nobody's going to give you props for owning it, but you can probably find one for a good price if you look around. And honestly, I think that the Ford Fusion Hybrid is criminally underrated. It's got great miles per gallon. We're talking like 43 miles per gallon in city traffic. It's decently reliable, and I mean, it's not that bad. Like, it's not the ugliest car in the world. Its biggest detriment is really just that it's kinda boring. But if you ask me, when we're talking about used cars, boring can be a good thing. So I'm putting the Ford Fusion Hybrid in the B tier because, hey, you could do worse. Now let's talk about one of my personal favorites. Psych, I hate this piece of crap. Let's talk about the Fiat 500L. And let's just talk about any model year because it doesn't really matter. They all suck. Now, the only positive thing I will say about this car is you can probably find one for a relatively low price, but like all things, there is a reason for that. Do you know what the L in Fiat 500L stands for? I didn't either, but I looked it up and apparently it stands for legitimately terrible. This car looks like a depressed jelly bean and it drives like regret. Seriously, I wouldn't press this thing's gas pedal with your foot, and that's saying something because I like driving cars. I'm not going to bore you with all the gritty details, but just know that the Fiat 500L is ugly, unreliable, and unwanted. It's kind of like if a toaster had wheels and a drinking problem. F tier. Okay, so you already know, no used car tier list would be complete without mentioning the Nissan Altima. This car seems to be everywhere. Like, if you left your house today, then you probably saw at least 5 of these things on the road because, holy moly, everybody and their grandma seems to be driving one of these. And I don't know why, but for some reason it's kind of a meme that used Altimas are driven by the wildest drivers. And I don't know if that's true, but I will say in 2025, purchasing a used Nissan Altima is a wildly medium thing to do. At an average price of $9,000 to $14,000, a used Altima won't break the bank, but it's not necessarily the cheapest option either. The CVT transmission on these things has been known to give people some problems, so that's something to look out for. But for the most part, they do hold up pretty well. So I really have no choice but to put the Nissan Altima in the C tier, because it really is just the perfectly average vehicle. But hey, we're talking about used cars here, so average isn't necessarily a bad thing. The Toyota Corolla. It's not flashy, it's not fast, but it will outlive all of us. The Toyota Corolla is like that one friend who never flakes, doesn't get into drama, and always brings snacks. We're talking low maintenance, great gas mileage, and you'll never have to explain to anybody why it's in the shop again. And if something does break on your Corolla, big deal. These things are cheap and easy to fix. And say what you will, but I like how the Corolla looks. I like the body style, and I like the interior. And I realize I'm probably biased, but so what? Used Toyota Corollas rule! If you think this is ugly, then maybe it's you that has an ugly soul. You ever think about that? Look, a used 2016 to 2020 Corolla will run you anywhere from 12 to 19 grand, which might be kinda pricey at the higher end, but it's just like what I said about the Honda Civic. It's worth it in the long run because they got excellent resale value. A used Toyota Corolla could barely even be called a depreciating asset with how well these things hold their value. I mean, damn it! I love Corollas! S tier! But seriously, you cannot go wrong with a used Corolla. Corolla owners sleep peacefully knowing that their car will start even if the earth gets hit by a solar flare. Now let's talk about another one of my personal favorites, the Mazda 3. Now this car right here, this is one sleek, sexy machine. I mean, it is stylish, it is fun to drive, and you know, it kind of feels like if a Honda went to art school and found itself. The Mazda 3 is the I care about design and fuel economy car. The thing about used cars, they tend to look used. And what I mean by that is, you know, even if you've got a used car that is in great condition, freshly washed and waxed, a used car still tends to look dated. But the Mazda 3, not so much. It still looks fresh. It looks futuristic. And on top of all that, the 2019 to 2022 Mazda 3 is a pretty darn reliable car too. It might not be quite as reliable as a Honda or a Toyota, but I don't know, it really is in that same ballpark. Unfortunately, there is one flaw in this otherwise perfect used vehicle. The infotainment system on these things sucks. It's like it was designed by a committee of raccoons. Yeah, it's really bad. And I don't just mean that from a layout standpoint either. Like, these things have actual functional problems. There's this known bug that a lot of Mazda 3s have with their infotainment systems. Some people call it the ghost touch, where it's like someone is just tapping on the screen over and over again, pressing the buttons, just changing your radio station, making calls, and just doing all kinds of things that you don't want to do. So unfortunately, I can't put the Mazda 3 in the S tier, although I kind of do want to, but this is still a great car, especially if style is something that you care about. A tier. Okay, now this next car we're going to talk about, I have mixed feelings. On the one hand, a 2013 to 2016 BMW 3 Series, it's a really, really fun car to drive. It handles great, the acceleration is responsive and fast, and yeah, I mean, it's just a fun car to drive. And it's also a great looking car. The BMW 3 Series is one of the few cars on this list that you can buy used over 10 years old and you can still turn heads. However, this car sucks. Look, yes, it's a great car, but also it sucks. I mean, how can I put this? I guess you could say driving a used BMW 3 Series, it'll make you feel like a Wall Street banker. That is, until you get slapped with a $1,300 repair bill because the cup holder looked at you funny. It's great when it works, and it's expensive when it doesn't. It's just a money pit. And I know it might be tempting to shell out 10 to 20K for that sleek 2014 3 Series you found on Craigslist, but please, I'm telling you, reconsider. The cost of ownership for these things is through the roof. So go ahead and buy a used 3 Series if you want, but just don't be surprised when you end up spending more time sitting in your mechanic's lobby watching reruns of The Price is Right than you do sitting behind the wheel of your Beamer looking out on the open road. D tier. But luxury doesn't have to be a bad thing, and the Lexus RX 350 is a perfect example of that. Now, this luxury crossover will cost you a pretty penny, coming in at an average of $18,000 to $28,000 for a 6 to 10-year-old car. But hey, there's a reason that the Lexus RX 350 is the car of choice for rich divorced MILFs all across the United States. It's smooth, it's reliable, it looks like a spaceship, and I mean, if that's your thing, then hell yeah. Now personally, I'm just not really a crossover kind of guy. It's just not the kind of body style I'm into. But the Lexus RX 350 is the best used crossover you can buy, bar none. The first time I drove one of these things, I will admit, I did not have the highest of expectations, but once I pressed down that gas pedal and went around a few corners, yeah, I get it now. I mean, there's a reason your divorced aunt drives an RX 350. She can afford it, and plus, she doesn't have to worry about spilling her glass of wine when she barrels around a 30-degree curve at 60 miles per hour. And I just have to mention, the RX 350 might have the most comfortable interior out of any car on this list. So yeah, it's a great car. It's a really great car, if you can afford it. S tier. And by the way, if you've been enjoying this video so far, go ahead and hit that like button, and please, if you don't mind, if you could do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe. It really helps me out. Now let's get back to it. If your name is Skylar, and you're in the market for a car to carry you and your two golden doodles on a cross-country road trip, then you've probably been looking into the Subaru Outback. Now, when it comes to cargo space, the Subaru Outback is in a class of its own. You can fit a lot of junk in there. And another thing, the Outback is true to its name. It comes standard with all-wheel drive, so it's a great car to have if you plan to go anywhere slightly off-road, like a campsite or something like that. Now, as for the downsides, these older Outbacks aren't exactly the most reliable machines. I mean, they aren't necessarily horrible, but I'm just saying, don't be surprised if you blow a gasket. And for those that don't know, yeah, you definitely do not want to blow a head gasket. That is a serious issue. But yeah, anyways, the miles per gallon on these things, it's not too great, but depending on your use case, a used Subaru Outback might just be the best choice to fit your needs. But for the relatively steep price of 12 to 20 grand used, unless you need the extra cargo space, you're probably better off going with something else. B tier. Alright, now let's talk about a real flop. The Jeep Cherokee, model years 2014 to 2018, is the SUV equivalent of a dude who skips leg day but flexes on Instagram. It's a vehicle that looks tough, but isn't. These things are notorious for transmission issues, but even when everything is mechanically in good shape, it's just not a very good car. I mean, you look at this thing and you think, all right, let's go get some mud on the tires. Then you do that, and you're having the time of your life for, say about 2.5 minutes before you end up calling up AAA to come pull you out. Now, if you're lucky, you might be able to find one of these monstrosities for under 10 grand with relatively low mileage, so in that case, maybe it's not the worst pick. But for the most part, I'd say just stay away. It's not a good car. D tier. If you're into stock trading or sports betting, or, if you just like to gamble with your money, then a used 2015 to 2019 Volkswagen Jetta is the perfect car for you. The thing about these older model Jettas, they're stylish, they're fashionable, they look great, and they feel great, inside and out. But unfortunately, when you roll the dice on a used Jetta, or let's be honest, even new Jettas have this problem, but it's kind of beside the point. But the thing is, you might end up with a great, reliable automobile that lasts you 200,000 plus miles, or you might end up with a total lemon that craps out on you after 40,000 miles. You really just don't know. There's no way to tell. It's a 50-50 chance either way. Now, I will say, if you can find one of these things on the cheap, and you do your homework, you get the Carfax or the AutoCheck report, you take it to your trusted mechanic for a pre-purchase inspection and, give it a good test drive or two. If you do all of that, then you can at least increase your odds of walking away with a good deal. Because when a Jetta doesn't decide to just keel over and die on you for no reason, it's really not a bad little car. And like I said, they look great, and some people might disagree, but I think they drive pretty well too for what they are. So for under $10,000, a used Jetta is something you might want to consider. But for anything more than like 12,500 or 13,000, personally, I would just look elsewhere. So I'm putting the Volkswagen Jetta in the C tier. Alright, so the next car I'm going to be talking about, take this as a cautionary tale, because I know it might be tempting when you see one of these cool-looking, exotic, used Land Rovers for sale at your local shady car lot, but listen. No, seriously, listen to me. Do not throw your money away on a piece of crap Land Rover. The Land Rover is a garbage vehicle that belongs in the junkyard. And I mean, that's probably where it's going to end up anyway shortly after you buy it, because Land Rovers have no reliability and no shelf life. Land Rovers age like avocados. Fast. I mean, owning a Land Rover is like dating a supermodel with commitment issues. Yeah, sure, she's attractive, and your friends will probably be impressed, but she ain't gonna be with you for long. And if you really want a used luxury SUV, look for a Lexus RX 350. And yeah, shut up! I know, the RX 350 is a crossover, but I don't care. It's better than a stupid piece of junk Land Rover. So deal with it. I said what I said. And you may have noticed I didn't even bother specifying a model year range for Land Rovers because it really doesn't matter. You shouldn't even take a used Land Rover if someone's giving it to you for free. F tier. Okay, I need to calm down. Let me take a break from ranting about absolute lemons, and let me just tell you about a used car that's actually really nice. If you're in the market for a medium level of luxury, and you can find a model year 2018 to 2022 used Honda Accord, snatch that bad boy up. And I don't even care how many miles it has on it. There's really just not a lot to think about here. Just go ahead and sign on the dotted line. Okay, I am exaggerating a little bit. You should always do your research before buying any used vehicle, but the Honda Accord is a timeless classic. Spacious, sporty-ish. It gets good miles per gallon, 30 miles per gallon city and about 38 highway. And that turbo 2-liter is a dad-approved sleeper. Basically, you can just take everything positive I said about the Toyota Corolla and add in a bit of style and athleticism, and that's the Honda Accord. I know it's not the most fashionable or the most fun, but it's really not too shabby. Add that to the fact that it's one of the most reliable used cars on this list, and you really just can't go wrong. I almost want to put the Honda Accord in the S tier, but I just can't quite bring myself to do that considering how pricey it is. I mean, ultimately, they do hold their value really well, even after 100,000 miles, so you can get some of your money back after a few years if you decide to sell it. But there's just something about paying $25,000 for a used vehicle that just doesn't sit right with me. I know, inflation, yada yada yada, all that. But geez, $25,000 for a used car? Whatever. And look, if the Toyota Corolla is S tier, then the Honda Accord can't be an S tier, because the Corolla is just a step above. Yeah, go ahead and leave me an angry comment if you want, but I said that. The Corolla is a step above the Accord. I put my reputation on the line for that statement, okay? That's what it is. Anyways, so a used 2018 to 2022 Honda Accord, it's going in the A tier. If I'm going to talk about the Honda Accord, then you already know I have to mention the Toyota Camry. Now, I'm not going to waste a lot of your time on this one. Let me just say, the Toyota Camry is a great car, and it's a great used car to buy in 2025. Basically, everything I said about the Honda Accord, it's pretty much the same for the Camry. Seriously, like miles per gallon, reliability, style, even the average price range, it's all very similar. I could argue with myself back and forth for hours on end over which one is actually the better car, but ultimately, for me personally, I think I'd have to go with the Camry, but that's just a personal preference. Generally speaking, the Honda Accord is the more fun car to drive, and it's a little bit sportier, although the V6 version of the Camry ain't no joke, I can tell you that much. But yeah, the Accord is the more fun car, but the Camry is slightly more reliable. And they're about equal in terms of looks, although, yeah, sure, I guess most people would probably say the Honda Accord is the better looking out of the two, but both are great. They are both very great used cars. Truly, you cannot go wrong with a used Toyota Camry or a used Honda Accord. So I mean, obviously, with all these comparisons, I kind of have to put the Toyota Camry in the A tier. Okay, Nissan Maxima. It's stylish, it's sporty, and I mean, that gas pedal is responsive. I know that much. If you've ever got a rental car before and it wasn't a Camry, then it was probably a Nissan Maxima. It's a popular car. Oh, and did I mention how luxurious this thing is? I mean, I jest, but actually it is pretty nice. It's got a pretty nice interior. I like the Nissan Maxima. I don't love it, but I don't really have too much bad to say about it either. In my opinion, for the kind of body style they're going for, I think the Honda Accord just does it better, but that's just like my opinion, man. Now I will say, the Maxima doesn't have the best fuel economy. It gets around 20 miles per gallon in city traffic and 30 miles per gallon highway, and as far as reliability is concerned, yeah, it's pretty good. I would never trust a Nissan the same way I trust a Honda or Toyota, because Nissan just doesn't have the same track record, but the Maxima tends to be a reasonably reliable car. But one thing to consider about the Nissan Maxima, especially compared to any Honda or Toyota, they do depreciate rather quickly. They just don't really hold their value very well at all. And that can be a good thing for a used car buyer like you, because that means you might be able to find one for a good price. Just don't expect to get all your money back later on when you try to sell it. The Nissan Maxima is a B-tier used car to buy in 2025. The Chevrolet Malibu is the automotive version of unseasoned chicken. It's not bad. It's not great. It's just there, and it's bland. Some Malibu model years, especially the 2016 to 2018 models, they had some pretty significant reliability issues, including transmission shudder, and that's not good. So I do recommend sticking with the 2019 or newer model years if you are looking at a used Chevy Malibu. And these things are pretty cheap in terms of quality. You know, the interior is just, I mean, if you like plastic, then you'll love it. But for the rest of us, yeah, it's a bunch of cheap plastic. Seriously, it's got to be one of the worst interiors on this list, in my opinion. Now, in the Malibu's favor, it does get decent gas mileage with 27 miles per gallon city and 36 highway, and it will give you a decently smooth ride as long as the transmission isn't acting up. And if you really just want a Chevy Malibu, then you're in luck because you can find these things pretty much everywhere and usually for pretty cheap too. You can usually find a used 2019 to 2020 Chevy Malibu with under 80,000 miles somewhere in the $10,000 to $15,000 range. So if you just need a cheap used car to get you from point A to point B, and you need that car now, then the Malibu is not the worst choice you could make. I'd put it in the C tier. Alrighty then, let's talk about the Toyota Prius. And specifically, I'm going to be talking about the fourth generation of Prius, model years 2016 to 2021, because those are the best ones. Now, first and foremost, these things are so efficient, they might make you forget what a gas station even looks like. You can expect to be getting in excess of 50 miles per gallon, whether you're stuck in rush hour traffic or you're cruising down the open highway. Either way, whatever your commuting situation is, the Prius gets good mileage. And like most Toyotas, the Prius, I don't know, whatever. Anyways, like most Toyotas, these things are ultra reliable. And they also have low maintenance costs just in case something does go wrong. So with everything I've said so far, you're probably thinking, I'm going to put the Prius way up top in the S tier, right? Wrong. Look, I said at the beginning of this video, one of my criteria for these rankings is fun. And the Prius is not fun. I'd rather be doing my taxes than driving a Prius. The handling is dull, the acceleration is like... Stepping on a Prius gas pedal feels like pressing your foot into a bowl of mashed potatoes, except the bowl of mashed potatoes would probably accelerate faster. Driving a Toyota Prius is just, it's an emotionless experience. And of course, you know, I gotta talk about the aesthetics. Let me put it this way. The Toyota Prius style, it's an acquired taste. Some people actually love it, but personally, I think it looks like a deformed alien's egg. But hey, maybe that's your style. I'm not one to judge. So I'm gonna put the Toyota Prius in the B tier. Okay, so there you have it. If I didn't mention a car that you want to know about, then just leave me a comment and I will do my best to respond to your comment and I'll let you know what tier I would put that car in. Thank you for watching.